Go debate one of those, all due respect, one of those unlearned Christians out there. You're barking the wrong tree, because I can teach you what you know because I've taught it. Okay? I'm speaking all those guys who claiming that Cornelius was an Israelite. I was there when they first came up with it. I know why they came up with it. Okay? That's number one and number two. And they was only showing a picture of a black person, okay, in some Italian court to try to show that black people were amongst Italians. I didn't need that picture to know that blacks were amongst Italians. I knew history. I knew about when Hannibal went over the Rubicon. I knew that there's black people all in Italy, but Cornelius ain't one of those. Okay, because it would totally undo the prophecy. Right? So I'm going to get off this in 1 second, Elder. I want to show one other thing. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Then we go down. And we put up a lot of Academy stuff now, just so you can have snippets on it. Right? Someone said, wow, it's crazy this video was uploaded today because I was just talking to an East Indian friend of mine about this. Right? Now, look, now this person, now using, I'm going to show you how they do it, folks. I'm going to go here. Now, you see this? Ezra Israel. This is what we call a troll page. Now, this is a guy that's with another Israelite group, but used this page to troll. All right? This is a troll page. So let's go back to his comment. Folks, let's go back to his comment. Ezra Israel. Because I know they be looking. Let's go back to his comment. Where is he? Right here. No scripture says Cornelius was an Edomite. Right? No. The scripture said he was from the Italian band. And he was a Gentile from the Italian band. Simeon declared that he visited first the Gentiles to take a people out of people for his name. Well, when you go to as it is written, it tell you in Acts the 9th chapter to do what? To convince the remnant of Edom and all the Gentiles that are called heathen that are called by his name. It's the Lord that doeth this. So Cornelius is a fulfillment of that Edom written of in Amos, the 9th chapter. See how you use the precepts there? So, no scripture says Cornelius was an Edomite. So, I wanted to see some of the responses out there with some of the Academy stuff we put up there. Because, you know, one thing I like about the Academy is straight teaching, precepts. It's straight class, right? Right? Then someone comes and says, say it loud, Now, as you can see, this is like a great millstone on one of these characters, right? It doesn't say Cornelius. So make sure you clip this, AC. If any Israelite out there who claim that Cornelius was an Israelite, if you can prove that, number one, whatever church you belong to, and my word is bond, I will donate as an offering out of my own money $1,000 to your church. We will dismantle the Gathering of Christ Church.
Get your money ready.
and we will join up under you.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Recha HaKwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to the other elders, you brethren, you fellow believers of this truth, supporters of this truth, which includes your sisters. And shalom to the hopefully elect, shalom to the elect, peace to the elect. So anyway, this guy had to mention GMS, which is fine. We enjoy it, you know, as the scripture says, we entreat. But this man, he's willing to put up $1,000 and he'll join the doctrine, which that's a complete lie. This same man that's been caught up years ago, I'm not going to go into his past, but Dr. James White destroyed him with the Geneva Bible. And everybody tried to, well, his group tried to support him, knowing he got destroyed by Dr. James White. Again, this is another Christian hustler who's used the new means of religion to associate himself with all nations to get rich. That's what I believe. I believe ain't nothing but another hustler, another Christian Hebrew church. So anyway, we're going to go to Acts 10, and we're going to go to some old Bibles, right? Let's go to Acts 10 and 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea. We should know where Caesarea is, right there in Israel, right? Called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called of the Italian band. So when they see this word Italian, they say, uh-oh, he had to be a white man. Now this guy, Elder Rakah Hashiyah, he admits that there was blacks, Italians, and so forth and so on. He knows this. But somehow, as the law states, reasonable doubt. You can't prove this 100% that Cornelius was an Edomite. But we will prove you 100% that he was an Israelite. At the end of this lesson, and I know other elders, apostles, brothers, or let me say apostles, elders, and brethren did lessons on this very topic. I'm just doing my 2 cents, and I like going into the older Bibles, right? But first, let's go into some AI, right? Let's go into some AI. It says there, Jews were in the Roman army through their presence and roles. And this guy said in Amos or Acts 9 that the cry was out to convert the Edomites. I didn't see that. I don't know what book he's reading. I don't see that in the Bible, except in the time where when he said go to Edom or so forth and so on, where the Israelites were at. But I never heard him say go convert the Edomites. I never heard that. Never saw that. Anyway, across different periods of the Roman history, during the Republic, early empire, Jews served in various capacities, including auxiliaries, non-citizen troops, which Paul was a Roman citizen, by the way. Like when we see the word Roman, we see the word Greek, that doesn't necessarily mean a white person. Just like when this is what white supremacy has done to the minds of our people. Just like when we see America, it doesn't mean white people because you see the word American, although they conquered it. Although they named the world Russia, certain things, Africa, names after themselves, it doesn't mean it's all inhabited by white people. Anyway, in some regular legionnaires, that's what they call them, the legionnaires, if they had obtained Roman citizenship, Jewish communities throughout the Mediterranean often had relationships with Romans, sometimes as allies, sometimes as subjects. And we know Cornelius was around these regions, right? Caesarea, okay? Herod the Great forces which were allied at Rome, including many Jewish soldiers. So you get the point, right? It also goes into 66 to 135 CE, where it says the same thing. So what I want to do is I want to take a dive into the older Bible, right? It says this is the John Wycliffe, which changed because the Roman Catholics, right, they didn't agree with some of the interpretations of John Wycliffe. I just read that actually. So over time, because he translated out of the Vulgate, and you know this word Gentile was a confusing word because it meant several things. And the Bible never said even Cornelius was a Gentile. It didn't say that. It said from this Italian band, the Centurion, right, which was a captain of 100. That's where you get the word century from, right? So it says, a man of Caesarea, Corneli, by name, a Centurion of company of Quintus, that is said of Italy. When you read this Old English, I'm starting to understand it more. It means, some say it means knight or knitted together, or we could say kinsman to a degree. We'll get into that. It says a religious man. It doesn't, see, when we go to the blue letter, which is nothing wrong with the blue letter, it breaks down everything. It says devout man, Eusebius. I believe that's where you get the name Eusebius from, the one that I believe had a Marcinius and Eusebius. Eusebius was the one trying to include, I believe, the New Testament. Marcinius had a problem with the Old Testament, right? And I mean with the New Testament, Salakia. No, he had a problem with the Old Testament. They called that the God of the Bible was wicked. And that's why you had what you call the New Testament Bible, because of that guy. But anyway, this word Eusebius means pious or dutiful, which goes to devout. Maybe there's some more reverent. Let maybe go to more here. To revere or worship, which means, as what I just read, religious. That's just another word that he was a religious man. Okay. And we know the Israelites were religious, and I don't want to make this lesson go on to, very long, because we can go to Acts 2. Acts 2 breaks all of that down as well, and it talks about at Acts 2 and 5, Jews, devout men out of every nation. Let me jump on that real quick. I'm gonna try to skim through some of that. Acts 2. This also goes to Peter's sermon when he woke up the 1,000. Let me get it in the. Let me get it in. I get a better look at it with the Bible Hub, because I done seen it so much in there. All right. So Acts 2, as we know, and there were dwelling in Jerusalem Jews, religious men. We could say religious men, right, out of every nation under heaven. This word nation can be very conflicting. We'll get into that too, because the word nation just simply means people, but then it can be people of other nations and people of Israelites in some cases, or Jews. In some cases they'll put Gentile there, depending on the context. They had problems with that, right? This is called Peter preaches to the crowd, right? It says, ye men of Judea, and then dwell in Jerusalem. We see this a lot through here. Verse 22, ye men of Israel, hear these words. Like Jesus of Nazareth, Yahushua of Nazareth, a man approved of God. Right? Him being delivered by the determinate counsel of and foreknowledge of God, ye have taken, and any wicked hands have crucified and slain. Right? When it goes down here, talk about men and brethren, freely let me speak unto you, the patriarch of David. I'm just scrolling through this, right? And when you see Gentile in there, people don't understand Gentile. As I keep saying, it's not a Hebrew nor a Greek word, right? We'll show you that too. Now, Lord's will, I may get to it. Now, this is called the 3,000 believe. Right? And this is what Peter, for the promises unto you and to your children and all that are far off. Deuteronomy 28:64. Even as many as the Lord shall call. He said, I will scatter you from one end of the earth even to the other. James 1:1, to the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad. I think you should get the point by now where this is going. So let's go back here. Acts 10:1. Let's go to 10:26. This is the more controversial part, right? And the moral, now you can Google yourself Jews in the Roman army and the positions they had, and high positions as well, just like in America. And tomorrow that entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waiting for them, and had called together his kinsmen and near friends. This is why we know that the man that Yahushua healed in I forgot where it was, Macedonia. I can't remember where the Lord healed the man's sick servant, which was right there. Right? It wasn't Macedonia, Salakia. Yeah, it was Capernaum. Capernaum was right there, right? And it says, and as Peter was coming, and Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, stand up, I myself also am a man. And it says, and let me go here. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, ye know now that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But God have shewed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. And that's the one. This is the one that Christians try to throw on, or this Hakah, he gets excited, his eyes start popping out. Let's go to back to the old Bible. That was 29th verse, or 28th verse. It says, and he said unto him, ye weren't how abominable it is to a Jew to be joined either to come to an alien. They never said in this Bible, never said of another nation, right? But people get confused on that word nation, right? We're going to go into that word, but I also want to look up this word alien. I believe I looked it up. An alien is a stranger or foreigner. They could have used anything than saying another nation. They could have literally said of a foreigner. This is why we know universalism was in the Bible, right? And the Roman Catholics so-called condemned it because it was on a high level, but they left a lot of universalism in there. And what we mean by universalism, words that ultimately mean different things that can be perceived as everybody, like John 3:16, the word world. It didn't have to say God so loved the world. I know the Lord allowed it, right? But it could have said God so loved his people, because when you go in Comidzo, the root word cosmos, and deeper into Comidzo, it means to bring back what was previously one's own. And how can you reconcile something that you never had? But anyway, it says alien, strange, foreigner, stranger, foreigner. So you had the Israelites who always beef with one another, as we want to say. This is why Yahushua said this in Mark 12:29. This is why he read this, quoting in the Old Testament. And Yahushua answered him, the first of all commandment is here, O Israel. This is a proof. O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second commandment is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. This is also talking about foreigners and strangers, right? Leviticus 19:24, when it talked about we dwelt as strangers in the land of Egypt, foreigners. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into that. Where was I at? This is why he said that, right? That's why he said that. So we go here. Let's go to Acts 6:1 to prove these were different kind of Jews, right? And in those days, when the number of the disciples were multiplied, there also arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews. Well, why is it saying the Grecians against the Hebrews? Aren't they all Jews? Let's go look it up, right? Now, at this time, the disciples were increased in the number of complaints. Arose a part of the Hellenistic on the part of the Hellenistic Jews against the native Hebrews or Jew. So the reason why they made a separation between Jew and Hebrew, right? Because you had believing Jews and you had non-believing Jews, or they believed but they didn't believe in the Messiah, or they had other instances going on. And then you had what you call Gentiles who just didn't believe any, at all. So it says here, Hellenistic Jews, this, when you read, this is what it says. I just want to get to the point. Jews born in foreign aliens, right? Foreign lands, and speaking Greek. That's your differences, right? That's your differences. Jews born in foreign lands and speaking Greek. This is why he says, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love thy stranger, right? That's why it says what it says. So let's go back, right? Let's go back. And it says, and he said not to keep company into another nation. Let's go on down to this word nation. Let's see what this says. Into another nation. Alophilos, I believe that's what that says.
Strong's G 246. Alophilos.
Foreign.
Alophilos.
That's another name for alien. So when it says of another nation, that's really saying of an alien, foreigner, stranger. So when you go into the Strong's definition, which I like going into, let's see what this says. I know one of the bishops went over this years back. Another more, it doesn't have much on it. Yeah, miscellaneous. Another other. Let's go back. Let's go to G as right here, foreign, especially Gentile. This is what it says. Do you know in the Geneva Bible, right, when it says there's neither Galatians 3:28, Jew or Greek, you're all one in the Messiah. Do you know it actually says the word Grecian in the Bible 1599? Since and this was beautiful that they had that debate. That's what got me years back into looking into other Bibles. Dr. James White pretty much started going into those older Bibles because you can get more the root core of the translation, but you can still get the root core in the blue letter. You just got to dig into it, right? It says here, this is what it said, Fule, right? This is what it say.
Strong's G 5443. Fule.
In the New Testament.
Fule.
In the New Testament, all persons descended from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch fathers of Jacob, a nation people, saying the same damn thing. So now, more clarity on that. Let's go to Revelation 7 and 9 and see what that says. Let's see if any Edomites can be saved. Because if Cornelius is an Edomite, he will not be saved. So we know he's not an Edomite because he was a religious man. When you think of anybody in America, right, when you think of religious people, who do you think of? I mean, you can have white people say, I'm a religious, I love Jesus. You know who the most religious people, right? Not that they're truly believing in the right God, but you know who the most religious people? Our people. Blacks and Hispanics. They love that, Roman Catholicism. So let's go to Revelation 7 and 9. Let's see what that says. After this I beheld, lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations. Remember we went to nations? It goes back to that word Fule. And kindreds, and people, and tongues. The reason, you can look up each one of these words. I'm not going to take the time to do it. It's our job to teach you. And you go look it up. Each one of these words go back to the same thing. This is how Old English was written to have the force. For example, I'm going to go, when it says multitude, In Genesis, it says you should be numbered for a multitude, Hosea 1 and 10, of all nations, which goes to ethnos, kindreds, and peoples. So I'm going to go to peoples. Watch what people say. A people, group, tribe, nation, all those of the same stock. What is a stock? Lineage and language. That's what it says. We see this in all of them. Let's go to kindreds. This is that word again. Of all
Strong's
nations.
G 5443. Foulé.
In the New Testament, all persons descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch of Jacob. The patriarch of Jacob. That's what it says. So when we go back here to Acts 10, right, the main parts, Caesarea, when we go to Capernaum and various other, the Roman army had their army spread out. A whole lot of people was part of the Roman army. You know what I'm saying? And then I went on to type, were there black people in the Roman army? Yes, there were. Nubian, modern day Sudan, Ethiopia, and parts of Africa. So you can see the Roman Empire had that world, and everybody was a part of it. So how the hell can you say and go into Amos and say it went to the Edomites when Amos 3 said he only going to punish the children of Israel? This man just made this stuff up, man. And nobody tries to question this guy. But we will. We'll rebuke you. You going off. This man is a fraud. I believe, is he the one that sent everybody to Africa and to start up a new compound? He's like that Pastor Dial. All rolled up in IUIC, rolled up together. Anyway, that's all I have on that. Shalom.